Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of August. Hope that you're all well. I want to say an enormous thank you to all those people who've jumped aboard the channel memberships that are now open. The link is, well, it's not a link actually, it's a button underneath the video. So if you're interested in that, I'd be delighted to have you. And also extending my huge thanks to the wonderful, wonderful people over at Patreon that have come and joined me over there. I love you all more than I can possibly express. But I think you know that because I have a go at expressing it periodically anyway. Hopefully by the time this video airs, I shall have got back on there and had a bit more of some crack with the patrons. Been working on some stuff that they've given me feedback about, so it's all been tremendously helpful. Thank you very much, it's much appreciated. So I think that's everything that I have to say for now. Let's get you some cards, Virgo. So I have 3 cards for Virgo, please, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for August. Oh, here's the first one. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. That's cool, I like that. Current energy. Ooh. Strength. I really like that for you. That's cool. Let's see if I can try and expand my vocabulary today to say something other than that's cool to everything. It's coming towards Virgo for August, please. Got the 2 of Swords. Don't worry about that too much. At the bottom of the deck we've got the King of Wands, and I quite like that actually for you, particularly given that we've got this card of Leo, Strength, here in your current energy. So let's get some clarifiers. Actually, you just noticed that the Hermit is right on the top of the deck there, and that's your card. Let's see what detail the clarifiers can add to this. So, what's the Knight of Pentacles here, please? The Wheel of Fortune. Ooh, I like that. Wheel of Fortune and Strength in the same reading. What's the Knight of Pentacles here, please? What's that? 6 of Wands. Oh, it's a very Leo heavy reading for you here. That's good. I'm taking that as a very positive sign. What is Strength here, please? Behave. Right. Strength, please. There we go. Ooh, we've got the 6 of Swords. I like that as well. Ooh, this is getting all profound all of a second. All of a sudden. Alright, we're not getting a card come out. I'm going to try again, but there is one card that's been trying to eke its way out here, which is the 3 of Swords. I'm going to show it to you because it made such an effort to kind of pull out there. But it didn't jump, so I'm not going to take it. It would certainly suggest, I mean, I'm going to give it an opportunity to come out again if it wants to, but it would certainly suggest that there is some really profound healing going on with you at the moment, Virgo. There's been a lot of broken-hearted energy for you this year, a huge amount. But the 3 of Swords combined with the 6 of Swords, clarifying strength, it means you're kind of starting to come out the other side. Whoa, 6 of Cups, okay. 2 6s, movement. Tell me about this 2 of Swords, please. Where's this here? We've got the 2 of Cups and the King of Cups. I'm going to put another deck to the side. Which one do I want to use? I'm just going to go with standard Rider-Waite because I'll clarify these a little bit more as we go on. But the first card that came out is your card, right? It's the Knight of Pentacles. It's card of Virgo there. And this isn't flary and dramatic like you see with the other knights. Like the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords have a, you know, certain amount of drama and kind of excitement about them that is kind of missing with this one. I'm sorry to say, don't be offended or anything. Because this is the one to which you would entrust a really important job, right? Because this one is not flary and dramatic, but it is fastidious, and it moves very carefully, very slowly, right? My singing bowl was just chirped for no reason whatsoever. Okay, so there it is, right? We've got it on that big Shire horse there, also not particularly renowned for movement. You know, this is not like the, you know, the Arab racing horses you get. It's sturdy and it's strong and it will plod on forever, right? Not fast, but it'll get there. Now, the fact that this pentacle is up here in this crow's beak, it makes me feel like not only like you have a renewed sense of what is important to you now, right? Because we've talked for months about how you've been in this kind of bit of a fog of loss and processing, and certainly for a while the processing wasn't really happening. You were just kind of stuck in this loss feeling, you know, whether that was the loss of a relationship or a bereavement or something like that, right? It was fairly all-encompassing for a while, and the fact that we now have some movement, even if it's not fast and flary and dramatic, but there is movement, means that you're not only valuing what you still have, but you understand the importance of what you still have. And actually, to a degree, you're also understanding, in a way that you didn't before, your purpose going forwards, right? It may not be entirely clear, it may not be life purpose, but you see a point, right, that you kind of that you're moving towards, is what I was going to say. And maybe that's true for some of you, maybe it isn't. Certainly for some of you that will be the case, but it's almost like you've kind of come back into your own body a little bit, where you were slightly absent before, right? And now you're plodding step by step, making progress every day, and that's wonderful. We have the Wheel of Fortune and the Six of Wands here, and the Wheel of Fortune is about fortunes improving, and certainly in the last month or so, some of you should have been feeling a little bit more like you were finding the lightness in life again, you know, things to be happy about, things to celebrate, certainly. But it feels like you're also understanding that there's a lesson in everything now, right? It's less about what happens, why things happen to you, but why they happen for you, right? It's quite a nuanced difference, but it is extremely important for how you move forwards. Yeah, there's a lightness coming back to your life. I like that. Tell me about this. Oh, I like this very much, because what we've got is the Eight of Pentacles and the High Priestess. This combination came out for somebody else. Who was it? Gemini yesterday. I think it might have even been in the extended, actually. You are moving forwards. Oh, look, we've got the moon on the bottom of the deck as well, right? You've got a greater sense of what's going on inside you here, right? You are no, I won't say no longer exactly, but you're certainly, to a lesser degree, having your movements dictated by something that you don't quite understand, which is your emotional responses to whatever has occurred this year, right? There's a clarity coming in now, and it feels like you are working on a far more intuitive level than you have done before, right? The Eight of Pentacles is about putting that work in there, and this queen, well, I think she's a bit of a queen actually, but the High Priestess, she's also talking about the inner world, but she's talking about the knowledge that you have inside, right? Whereas the moon is talking about the bits of you that are hidden, that require a bit of investigation, and you've done that, and you're now much more clear about your motivations and your emotional responses and stuff. This is kind of like seeing now, learning that lesson actually is that your intuitive responses to things can be trusted. Right? You found a way to separate your intuition from, say, overanalyzing and overthinking, things that Virgos can be prone to. And it's kind of like you're getting your head down. Yeah, both of these cards kind of talk about getting your head down and working, but in a much more centered space than you were before, right? And again, none of this feels particularly flary or dramatic, like all of this work is internal, right? But it's starting to have it's starting to reap benefits in your external world, is how it feels to me, at least, anyhow. So in your current energy, you've got strength, and I really, really love to see that here, because what the strength card speaks to me about primarily is growth. I always see that with this. My heart used to sink when I used to see it, because it's one of the two cards of Leo, whereas the Sun, which is the other card, speaks about that real great positivity, you know, joyful inner child stuff, you know, the childlike wonder that we have at the world, where everything is just exciting and fun, and, you know, summers seem to go on forever, you know, in your memory from when you were a child. The Strength card is something a little bit potentially darker, we'll put it that way, right? So certainly to my mind, for a while when I used to see it, because it used to come up for me all the time, and it was like, it speaks to that strength that is developed through getting through difficult circumstances, right? Coming out the other end, and you're almost certainly not unscathed, but you've got through, right? You've got through, you've learned some stuff, you've grown older, wiser, that kind of thing. Yeah. So then my heart used to sink when it used to come up, because it would be like, well, things are still fucking hard. Things are going to be hard. There'd be no reason for you to draw upon this strength that you already have inside you if everything was going to be easy. Therefore, something is going to be difficult moving forwards, and you have to kind of gird your loins for that and all that sort of thing. But I'm seeing it in a slightly softer light, particularly this year now, and it is speaking to me about that growth, that spiritual development. You know, you seem a lot more in tune with yourself, and because it's fire, all of the fire element is about being present, right? And that's where we can kind of pull this King of Wands in here. This is somebody being active, actively living in the moment, going after the things that they want, albeit not in a flashy, fiery way, but in an earth sign progressive way, you know, which is energy that you can work with. But the level of presence that is here is quite remarkable, and the amount of growth that it implies is also remarkable too. The two cards that have come out to clarify it are the Six of Swords and the Six of Cups. And I really like this combination, because in some ways it speaks about the same thing that it was talking about when that Three of Swords was kind of showing its head a little bit there, right? The hurt and the pain and all that kind of thing. Because what we've got here are two sixes, which both talk about movement. So we've got movement with the King of Wands, who is absolutely the least static of all the kings. He definitely moves around, you know. The second you take your eye off him, he's like, it's there, he's gone, you know. But I see the King of Wands is kind of like this shaman of the tarot deck, right? He's got his responsibilities and all that thing, and he takes those very seriously. He does those, but there's an adventurous spirit with him. Like, he doesn't sit still very well. The Wands is all about physical movement. So we've got movement everywhere, albeit at your pace, and then we've got movement here too with both of these cards. The Fours of Foundations cards, right? You build your foundation with that. The Five energy is like agents of chaos, as Aquarian Insight used to call it, right? Blows that shit up. Everything that you just worked so hard to build, it blows it up again. It doesn't do it just for the crack. It does it to give you an opportunity to hone and refine what it is that you're building for yourself, right? And so it'll take out the things that you don't need. It'll highlight the things where, you know, what you're building is you know, erroneous in nature or something. The sixes are about moving away to a safe distance from that five energy, that disruptive energy, right? So we have two cards here, and this is about specifically moving away from difficult circumstances here. You know, we've got a woman and a child in a boat here, and they're kind of moving off out of this dark cave out into the sunlight, right? They're going. And then we've got the Six of Cups, and that is a card of the past for me. Now, we can see it being childhood, we can see it being, I've seen it be past life situations, soul situations, you know, soulmate situations, that kind of thing. But it is primarily a card of the past. So what we've got here are emotional ties to the past, all lined up in a row here, and you moving away from them, right? And it's either because you've grown and you can now see how this isn't really for you anymore and it's time to move away from it, or moving away from it is causing the growth, or the whole thing's a fucking cycle that's just going round and round and round, and it feels like that's it for me. Like, you're kind of having revelations about yourself. Your understanding of yourself is deepening to quite a dramatic degree now. And there's almost like you're getting a bit of a taste for it. You know, there's incredible liberation in letting old emotions go, right? And it doesn't have to be old emotional situations. Sometimes it could be actually old emotions, because we move away from situations all the time, but quite often what we do is we take our emotional responses and the way that we feel about those with us, right? And they sit and they weigh down on our soul for quite a while. And now, because you feel like you're starting to take steps and you're starting to move, it's like those things are kind of falling by the wayside. So if there's any resentment or bitterness, anything like that, that's going away. You know, jealousy, envy, they're leaving as well. Heartbreak, right? Rejection, all of these things, you're kind of pushing them to the side now to clear your route forwards. Let's have a look about this. We've got two cards flown out there, and I think they're both majors. Ooh, they are. That's interesting. We've got the Magician and we've got the Hierophant. I've just noticed we've got the Six of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So, there are a couple of different ways that we can see this. First off, what we've got here is Gemini and Taurus. So you may be dealing with Gemini and Taurus, and they may indeed be people that you are moving away from. But it's not the only interpretation, right? This is a card of structure. It's a card of hierarchy. It can be a card of society or business or, you know, education. It's basically anything where you've got somebody at the top who is either controlling or disseminating information to the people below, right? Structure, society, all of that kind of thing. But it can also be societal structures, such as marriage and things like that. And maybe you're moving away, you know, from, maybe you've got a divorce ongoing. That's entirely possible. But when we put it together with the Magician, right, the first off is you can see this being a kind of divorce, that you know, you're moving away from this old situation and you're now looking to manifest a different kind of structure into your life, right? One ultimately that you control. It's a card of manifestation, this. And this is a card about stability, you know, sometimes faith as well. Oh, maybe this is it. It's your faith in your own ability to change your circumstances that is actually driving you forwards at the moment. Oh, I like that very much, Virgo. That is cool. That is cool as shit. You notice that they're both wearing red robes and they both have that one arm. You know, it's actually their right arm. They both have their right arm up, you know. It feels like you're on a really slow, gentle route to realizing your own power. You know, all the things that you have been unhappy about in your 3D environment, like those things that you can change, you are now looking for ways to do that. I referenced something in one of the videos for the mid-months, and I couldn't remember quite how it went, and I couldn't remember what it was called, but enough of you kind of picked up on it to be able to tell me in the comments that it was the Serenity Prayer, and that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting for this. Like, it might have even been the fucking Virgo reading, I don't even know, I can't remember. It's a similar sort of vibe that I'm getting for this, right? There's an acceptance that we're seeing with the Six of Swords and the Six of Cups, that there are things that you cannot change, right? They are what they are. And now you're moving away from those things, right? Accepting that they've occurred. But those things that you can change, you are now looking, you know, to dig out your own personal strength reserves to make this happen. It's like trusting that something better is coming along. And more than that, kind of actively participating in making that occur. Oh, I really like this. I really, really like it, Virgo. Oh, so what the fuck is all this about? We've got the Two of Swords, clarified by the Two of Cups and the King of Cups. The Two of Swords, for me, is kind of hitting a bit of an impasse in some ways, because it talks about making a decision. But critically, in this card, you know, we've got a crow, and usually it's, you know, a woman. But the crow is blindfolded here, right? Balanced between two swords, with the back to this water behind it. And usually there's the moon there. And so it speaks to me about somebody who needs to make a decision about something, but is in some way kind of procrastinating a little bit because they're refusing to look at the emotional input that is at their disposal that would more likely than not switch one way or another, you know, bring them down one way or another in the decision. Instead, they choose to ignore that altogether, kind of willfully blind themselves to it, and kind of try and make a decision only using, you know, the swords, which are the thoughts and the words and communications. It's the intellect, all of that kind of thing, right? And it's very internal. Right? All the twos to me are cards of the internal. And what we have to clarify here is a relationship of sorts. Now, it's not necessarily, please don't jump to, because I certainly don't, the fact that this is a romantic relationship. I'm not necessarily seeing that here at all. There's nothing around it to necessarily support that. But there is emotion here. It's gone dark and stormy outside. Let me just... There we go. Oof, that's better. Right. More often than not, I view the Two of Cups as a card of compatibility, right? It can be work colleagues, it can be somebody that you are in business with, it can be a really close friend. You know, it's kind of speaking to a union of ideas and goals and emotions, right? So yes, you can absolutely see it as a potential relationship, right? Or you can see it as kind of working together with someone. Now, the fact that the Two of Swords is here, yeah, this is giving me a very conflicted feeling, right? Really conflicted, because here is a person, right? Romantic or platonic, however it goes, right? Here is a person who is putting you in a state of not knowing which way to turn. Now, the Two of Swords means that you're trying to make intellectual decisions here, but you are willfully blinding yourself to this big sea of emotions that are behind it. Now, in the event that this was a romantic relationship, I can see exactly why you would be in that state, because you're only really starting to flesh out how you feel about, you know, whatever's gone down for you this year, right? And to a degree, I think you've kind of moved through that feeling of loneliness and the denial of the ending to finally kind of accepting the ending, and now kind of working on yourself, looking at your own emotional state and trying to work out how you go forwards. And we all know that that's the sort of thing that really has to be done while you're alone, right? Because having a partner, so it's very rare that you will find a partner who is able to give you that kind of space to be able to process your emotions while still honouring in some way the fact that you're in a relationship, right? So that's a thing. But this could be something else, right? I'm going to pull some more cards for clarifiers because I'm kind of interested. But the other card that we've got here is the King of Cups. Now, this is strictly Scorpio, and it could be that you've had a Scorpio kind of wander in, right? That's possible. But it doesn't have to be. This is just somebody who cares, you know? Like I said, that doesn't have to be romantic. It doesn't have to be sexual. It's just somebody who cares for you a lot, right? But something about this interaction, this interpersonal relationship, has got you kind of a bit like, oh. So let's put some more cards and see if I can't work out what the fuck this is about here. So, okay. The fuck? It's just a bazillion cards came out there. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm going to put those back in. Just go for one because I've already got two out on the table. Or itchy nose. Yes. Okay. So we've got the Two of Wands here at the bottom of the deck. That is Crossroads Energy, right? That is, it's more internal energy because it's another two. This is 2, 2, 2 that we've got on the table here now. Right? there's stuff kind of rolling around inside you here, and you know that you need to make a decision. And it kind of feels like your emotions are pulling you one way and your head is pulling you another. Great conflicted kind of energy coming off here. Because then what we've got, the reason why I smirked when I was pulling out the cards is we've got the Ace of Wands come up now. So that is a card of great magnetism. You know, it can be an indication of a new sexual relationship, certainly, particularly when we see it come up with the Two of Cups. The potential is there. But then we've got these two cards here, right? So let's break this down a little bit. Here is a person who is coming in, who cares for you in some way, or is at least demonstrating some care for you, and maybe making you just feel seen for the first time this year, you know, because whatever losses you suffered, in whatever way they occurred, there was a great deal of hermit mode, you know, the kind of engaged hermit mode pretty hard, and kind of retreated into yourselves and got stuck there for quite a while, and you've kind of slowly been tentatively moving out again. So one of the things that is missing for you in that kind of situation is just being seen. You know, it's one of the biggest things that we can do for someone, is to actually see them, acknowledge what they're going through, you know, and kind of be there for them. It looks like this is somebody who's kind of stepped in to do this for you. And just because it's King of Cups, it doesn't have to be a man at all. Like, the tarot doesn't care about gender. It talks about the weight of emotions there. This is somebody that is emotionally open, emotionally available, and is certainly able to be lent on in some way that you might need to while you're going through this emotional processing that you're undertaking at the moment, right? Romantic or not. Now, if it is romantic, and we have this, you know, this card of sexual magnetism here, you know, great potential, then I can see why, straight off, we've got these two cards together here, because the Five of Pentacles talks to me about somebody who's not having their needs met in some way, right? So specifically, it talks about isolation, it talks about poverty of any description, whether that's emotional or financial, or, you know, it's resources ultimately. This is feeling a loss of those, or of being afraid of those, right? But then we have the Ten of Cups, which is the card of emotional fulfillment, right? What you've been missing is emotional fulfillment with another person, right? That is absolutely true. And whether this is through bereavement or divorce or whatever, like, there is somebody important in your life, who was important in your life, who is just not there anymore. And you have been suffering as a result, you know, whether or not you've admitted it consciously or to anyone else, right? That is the case. You have felt the loss. So now here comes somebody who is potentially able to step into the void that was created by this person leaving, right? Kind of get you back to some sort of feeling of normality, you know. This sorts out your issues of feeling rejected, you know, by a past partner that you've ended it with, you know. It's a feeling of comfort, right, that can be brought in here. So that's one way of looking at it. The other is an absolute terror of this, right? And we're still on the romantic interpretation here. An absolute terror, right? Because what you want more than anything is this, but your most recent experience is this, and what if this goes this way too? Like, can your heart really take this? I can see this being also something that is causing you to be like, please use your head, use your head, use your head. Don't be thinking about the emotional stuff right now, right? You're not in a good place for dealing with that. But still, that yearning is there. All of that is if it's a romantic relationship. If this is platonic, or, you know, this is a work colleague, this is a friend, this is a boss, or whatever, this is someone who has been here for you, or wants to be here for you, rather, in the month of August. We've got the Ace of Wands here, which, as well as being a card of, you know, sexual magnetism, chemistry, and, you know, great potential and all that lot. It is new creative ways of thinking. So maybe this is a new project that somebody is wanting to take you, you know, get you on board with. It's a creative outlook, or it has the potential to be a creative outlook. Did I say that? Creative project, right? Maybe it's something that you're making, maybe it's something that you're doing, maybe this is somebody who wants to come on board with you and support you in some way with that, right? To enable you to deal with what might have been a difficult financial year. Certainly your resources have been depleted in all senses this year, right? So that you can potentially go back to making yourself happy, being in a happy situation, right? All of these are potentials that I see in this combination of cards. Now I'm going to kind of pull this a little bit apart. I cannot talk today. I don't even know what's wrong with me. The energy in the last 4 or 5 days has been fucking weird. I can't even put my finger on what it is. People are angry. Like, people on the streets are just angry. People are shouting at each other in cars and stuff like that. And I'm not sleeping with it. My daughter's not sleeping with it either. My little baby witch, she's not sleeping. And I'm having trouble just fucking talking. So this is the thing. Anywho, what I was saying was, I am doing an extended. I'm going to go over there in a second, kind of pull this apart a little bit. But the takeaway from this is that there is indecision up ahead, because somebody's coming in, right? And it's leaving you feeling a little bit unsettled. I don't want you to worry about it though, because you've come so far already. This is kind of like a natural point for the universe to throw something at you and kind of see how you deal with it, right? That's how these things go. And it isn't necessarily something that needs to traumatize the shit out of you. Like, this is another opportunity for growth. I love that phrase. They call it AFOG in the poly community, right? Another fucking opportunity for growth. But it is what you make it, right? So maybe you come up against this and you're like, no, I know my emotional state is not yet sufficient to be able to either go into partnership with someone on some sort of creative venture or come together in some sort of, you know, romantic union. I know that this is not the case. Or maybe you're like, I've come so far. Actually, right now, what I could do with is some close companionship. Maybe this is the thing. Like I said, I'm going to pull this apart a little bit more in the extended. So if this has resonated with you, you know, where we got to the present, then by all means come and join me over there and we'll see if we can't get to the bottom of this a little bit more. But if this is where we part ways, that's all cool as ever. Know that I love you all and I'm really, really pleased with what you've been achieving recently. Like, this is really good stuff. You should give yourself a pat on the back for sure, because it's been hard. It's been a really hard year for you, Virgo, collectively. And you're coming through it and getting out the other side. So I will see you in about 10 days for the mid-months. Take care. See you soon.